What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to another episode of From the Hat, where we are talking by choice, chosen by a random. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Eva and I have known each other for 20 years, but this is the first time we are face-to-face, so this is history
in the making. Yeah, long time coming. I'm finally glad we're doing a thing, Thomas.
Yeah, and this is the first time she hasn't called the cops on me or a restraining order has been implemented. So this is nice. This is I appreciate that. Eva.
Everything's kosher. Don't worry, guys.
Because we had our lawyers talk to one another.
Yeah, we signed a few paperwork, little disclaimer, NDAs. We're good to go.
Yeah. Plus, at my age, with my bad back, my bad knees, I can't even sit without complaining. So she's safe. She could run away. She's fine. She's fine. Everybody, trust me. All right, Eva. Now, you are another guest that is on the show, so I'm happy to hear what your thoughts are on said subject, which brings us to the hat.
Yay.
All right, I'm going to pick and move my hand around, and as always, the guest, in this case Eva, is going to tell me when, and I'm going to pull out a random ball.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Go.
I loved that show growing up.
What was the little thing called? I don't even remember.
The whammies. They were called. No, that's why they would say no whammies.
Really were, okay. All right.
No whammy, because they would lose. All right, we got the number 6, or I believe in Spanish it would still be 6, but in a different language. All right. Which brings us to, sorry, my El Español. No. Okay, so. Flat Earth. Oh my God, it's gonna be great. Flat Earthers. All right. So as always, what is the topic? Despite overwhelming scientific evidence, some people still believe the Earth is flat. This belief highlights how deeply ingrained worldviews can resist change, even in the face of clear facts. So, as always, Eva, I throw it to the guest first on the subject of flat earthers and the idea that there is indeed overwhelming scientific facts and evidence proving otherwise. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, to be honest, you have to understand, especially right now with the world being as crazy as it is, everybody's level of perception now is greatly, I believe, distorted. And yes. I believe the growing factions of all these really dynamic and almost bizarre type of belief systems are arising right now because of, I believe it's really mimicking what's going on in our world as a whole. You wake up every morning, you don't know if it's aliens, World War III, drag queens at the Olympics, it's just all over the place, So the fact that there is a growing number of people that do believe in that, I'm not exactly surprised, I also think a lot of people's basic belief systems are rooted in fear when you really like strip away everything when you think about it, right? Because there's a fear of the unknown, the fear of not willing to go and maybe disprove those beliefs themselves. It's just easier if somebody says, yeah, okay, sky is blue, oceans are vast, and there's a lot that we don't know of our reality that isn't actually just taught to us. So
that's right, because we're only 3-dimensional beings. There is the potential for 4, 5, and 6 dimensionals. Now, when it comes to really hearing somebody, like if somebody approached you, right, and they're like, "Look, Eva, you don't know what you're talking about. The Earth is flat."
Right.
Okay. How do you respond to that?
I mean, I'm in a very different stage of my life now where if you would have asked like 20-something-year-old Marie, who was all in her ego and was sassy, she was this educated woman, I'd go on a tirade or a diatribe thing, like really, like, and just rant and, make them look silly.
Yep.
But at this point in my life, I'll be like, that's good for you, just
there.
Go to China. Don't ever go to the ends of the earth to practice that theory yourself and test it out. Think it's true or not,
It's like
it's moot at this point,
It is absolutely moot. And my brother does this thing where he goes on flat earther like boards, because he gets bored, different word, and then he'll just like show people in real time, like going from New York to California around the globe using actual airport tickets, and showing the map of like how you have to go from here to like, say, Europe, or like France, and then you go from France to like, say, China or Japan somewhere, and then you go from there and you go to, and he goes, that's impossible to do if the earth indeed was not flat, not round, because if it was flat, you'd have to go the other way. You'd have to literally go west.
Right. You would have to, there would be, no like multi-directional travel if mapped out by the millions of flights that happen every single day, thousands, I should say,
To their point, though, they believe that all pilots have to agree to the round Earth theory to disprove that the fact that the Earth is actually flat.
Wow,
that's a lot of people.
That is. And then going a level higher, does that mean they don't believe in anything related to space? Because
yes,
right. They think NASA's fake. It's a spoof.
Yeah, NASA stands for lies or something like that, and then the space is really just I forget what the dome name. There's a weird.
Oh
name.
yeah, the firmament, right?
The firmament.
Yeah,
and then the God poked holes into the firmament to look at us, and then the stars are actually the light from God's room. I guess he's like, in his man cave or something. I don't know.
So God in the flat earthers realm is a Redditor watching the Truman Show, which is
yes. And the moon is flat, and etc. And I don't understand, but they do. They understand, and you cannot correct them or adjust their behavior. However, I think it's all right that someone's like, I'm a flat earther, because you now know you can walk away.
Right. Well, I think at that point, you know how you say, like, people are always like, oh, I'm going to be open-minded and I'm going to, let this person show me who they are. I believe language is just as important as behavior, or belief systems, I believe, are just important as behavior. And for me, that would be a signal that I'm like, okay, I can probably relate to this person on a very surface level, but I'm not about to get into anything I believe in, because I know the buck starts there, so.
Yeah, the way they use words or their positions dictate how much energy I should put into this person. And not really as a judgment, but like, if I can't speak with you with the agreed upon terminology or like definitions. For example, if I go, oh yeah, I went up a mountain, and they go, no, that is actually the direction of blue. Like, how do you converse with them?
Right. I guess it kind of also depends on like the level of willingness or openness they have to listen and maybe take some information in. But the fact that there's stuff that's been in existence for a while and this is now a growing faction, I think it's more of the opposite. That people are just more well to believe not anything that's actually already been presented to them.
Yeah, because it's all made up if you can prove it. That's like how they do it. That's usually the argument I get from there. It's all made up anyway. They're all just trying to trick you. But I don't mind if up is blue. I don't mind that. As long as I'm informed on it.
Right.
But if I talk to, I don't know, 30 people and up is up, and then you're the one person where you say it's blue, and you're telling me I'm wrong and everyone else is wrong, well, you need to present that to me before we get into a conversation. Like, don't just say I'm wrong. Go, hey, I perceive up as blue, because I'm okay with having that conversation with you. I'm okay going, all right, when I use the word blue, that means up. Like, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But before you inform me,
we're not talking about like, understanding maybe cognitive differences, neurodivergencies, or spectrums, or anything like that. Let's be real here. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about your average, maybe adult that actually really believes these things.
Yes, yeah, they are shown evidence and then they deny the evidence, and then because you don't believe them, you're wrong. And but I have a cousin. We're all slightly neurodivergent. Let's be
Oh
honest.
yes, it's
Yeah,
a spectrum. And why do you think it's spectrum? We're all spectrum, right?
yeah. I mean, but in theory, the moment your IQ hits 120 or higher, you're already in the spectrum, right? Because you're analyzing. Like I see patterns in behavior, and I have a photographic memory. So like if somebody does something, it's analyzed instantly over the behavior of my entire known relationship with that person. So I can see inconsistencies, and sometimes that bothers me, but I have to remember people change and make different choices. So like, but that's a neurodivergent issue, not a you issue. That's
Correct.
for me, right? So, but I have a cousin who is I believe it's no longer called idiot savant. I think it's just called savant, but he is a savant.
Right.
But he's so smart, but he also has paranoid schizophrenia.
Huh. Yeah.
And he deeply believes that God is a chicken inside the center of the sun. And if you approach the sun in a certain way with a ship, you can actually enter the sun and speak with God. Now, on the surface level, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, right. Really throws a wrench in, whether the chicken or the egg came first because it's fried.
That's right. And chickens don't even have semen, I believe. So
Right.
no one came. Let's just be honest with that, okay? But all right, welcome to the show. All right. But at the same time, he doesn't believe that if you can approach the sun at night and there would be no heat. Like that's the interesting part. Like he has this obscure perspective on God and the sun, but he also is like, it's ridiculous when people think you can approach the sun at night because it's dark, and it's like, no, the sun's always out. But again, I can enjoy that conversation with him because I'm going in already aware of the delicate, his delicate foundation of thought, like the way he looks at the world, I'm in. But if you approach a random stranger and they start going, did you know orange is the most useful tool in space travel? Like, you have questions.
Like, wait a minute. Okay. When was this discovery made? Like when
Yeah. And then when you try to explain to them an orange is a fruit and they say, no, it's not, then you got to be like, well, what is an orange to you? And they go, oh, it's this. They grow on trees. They have like a hard, waxy skin to them, and you can peel them off and you can eat them. Yes, the fruit. We are talking about the same thing. You are talking about the orange as the fruit. No. It's used for space travel, and it's not a fruit.
Okay, and go.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
You need one of these, right? You got to go like, so tell me.
Like so when did you first experience your first major trauma? Yeah, and then it goes into therapy, right?
You have a good relationship with your mother.
Well, I think the biggest too, like we're in a realm again. I think it's happening on a global scale where
a flat scale.
How could I forget? And I think the issue people are having too is that they're more willing to lean in the more obscure or whatever it is they want to believe in, because even the institutions at play that we have been taught to believe in and to abide by are slowly starting to come apart in their own ways, where it's like, okay, I'm supposed to believe that we have to go to, school and then graduate and then work a 9 to 5 till we're 70, etc. But then, the 1% of the people, don't even live like that, So again, I kind of understand people's, willingness to be more open about, said beliefs, regardless of how absurd they may appear to others. But I also think there should be a balance as far as recognition that there's some universal truths outside of us. We can have our own belief systems and our own universal truths as far as how we perceive reality, but
create culture.
Right. As far as a shared community, there's just some things that, that have to be accepted,
I agree with you. And I'll even lean into the theory that basically what you're saying is like we all have different beliefs, and to lean into that, it's all made up anyway. They are 100% constructs, but to have an intellectual debate, a conversation, maybe to move forward, maybe to have growth, we have to at least agree on some things as a foundation. We have to agree that an orange is indeed a fruit, and that it is sustenance, and that we can eat it, right? Like we have to agree on that. But if you want to call it a pear, that's fine. But if you tell me it's poison and like the government has been growing oranges to destroy specifically just people under 5'2", like now I'm like, look, that's fine that you believe that, but I may not be able to have this conversation with you because fundamentally there hasn't been enough proof or evidence for that to be true.
Right.
Because how many people have died from eating an orange because it has been manipulated by the government, and how many of those people were under 5 foot? Like there's just deductive reasoning that takes over at a certain point where you have to accept that there is a chance that their belief, as unique as it is, may not necessarily be the objective truth.
Correct.
And I'm okay with that. If everything changes. The earth was flat at a time, then it became round, and now it's oblique.
Gravity didn't exist until Newton, Yes. And think about it, they persecuted people, Galileo and them, for actually drawing a round map, so
yeah, and also believing that the earth was not the center of the universe.
Correct.
So all these things change. I mean, even the idea of tides is not necessarily what we originally thought, where the tides were coming in and out. It's that the earth actually moves within the ball of water, and because of the different heights of the ground, that shows a movement of tides. But it's not necessarily the water moving to the earth; it's the earth moving within the ocean.
Okay. So basically, we're not a flat Earth; we're a water globe with,
We are a water globe and there's also a second river underneath the main crust. And there's also a second river under the ocean that moves differently than the ocean above it. And they have footage of it. So
right. Right. Isn't it like polar opposite as far as?
Yeah. So, we didn't know that. And so I agree that we can change the way we perceive things. It's just at some point, like even if we go with the transgender discussion where it's like, well, there's more than two genders. All right, well, we're coming into a time where we are looking at things differently. Right. And if enough people accept that kind of approach, whether you agree with it or not, again, there are more than two genders is, I would say, on par with the earth is round, where people were like, no, it's flat. And people were like, no, we're coming up. We're discovering, and I'm not saying I believe, agree, or disagree with the transgender debate. I'm just using that as a
I completely understand.
So, there were people that were like, "There's no way the Earth is round," and now there are people saying, "There's no way there are more than two genders." But there's also this unisex thing that does happen, but there are only two. So I can understand the argument for movement,
right?
But until it is a solidified agreement, like the general consensus of our society needs to believe that run means run, even though it has 23 definitions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so when it comes to flat earthers or, the overwhelming evidence for things, I feel that there has to be a consensus to agree to that.
Right. Well, you got to remember, too, that sometimes people are just, believing in things, and it's through their perspective, through their lens, but it's multifaceted too sometimes with people. Maybe the reason they are so defensive about it was because, nobody ever believed them in anything. So they get really impassioned about it and they take wild takes because they just want to be the most, obnoxious, make noise and feel seen and heard. So they weren't feeling seen and heard, just being like everybody else. So, they got to be a flat earther and really make themselves known, as we've seen in a lot of varying, things, interesting stuff. There's always that one person that takes the most wildest take, and it's almost at the point where you're like, this has to be satire, and sometimes down the line you find out that it is, so
yes, yeah. But trauma is a son of a bitch. Like
absolutely.
it definitely, like, I have trauma and there are certain triggers I have, but again, they're for me and not, it is not the responsibility of others to protect that trigger. Like, that's something I have to work on. That's something, like I was talking in another episode about my OCD. Like, if I live with somebody, my OCD has to do with me. It does not have to do with them. So I'm not going to demand or expect them to say, have the dishes in a certain, like, they're not sleeping with the enemy. That movie where it's like, oh, the food, the labels have to be the certain way or he beats me. Like, I'm not that. Right. But if they put the dishes away weird, and weird is my perspective of it, not theirs.
Right.
I'll just adjust it on my own because my OCD needs it to be adjusted. So it's not their responsibility. So, again, when it comes to trauma responses, if somebody's just responding, being defensive, like, that's on them. That, that doesn't make us wrong if we're like,
absolutely,
this is a road, and they're like, no, that's space, and you're like, well, I mean, I guess the argument is that it is space. It's a road within the space.
Right. Yeah. And again, it goes back to, I mean, now, thankfully, we're in a time where, well, at least in our country for the time being, you can have these beliefs and not necessarily be, like physically persecuted for said beliefs or ostracized at a great level, make for great memes, but, you're not getting burned at the stake for believing you're a flat earther at this point.
Yes, so, which is good.
Right, absolutely. So, in that same thing, I say, okay, if you're really rooted in said belief, then be prepared to be ridiculed and be questioned. And, that's the thing too, in a lot of our world right now on any matter, because we're so impassioned about things. People want to have your belief. But then when somebody questions it with things like logic, statistics, etc., and then you get defensive, then it kind of invalidates the whole thing. Well, if this is a personal belief and nobody can change that belief, then why do you need, the validation or can't withstand the criticism,
Yep. And also the argument that's added to that is ultimately, it's like, well, it doesn't change the world that I believe Earth is flat.
Right.
Yes, but it changes how we behave with you.
Correct.
Because you don't understand the fundamental reality. You don't understand the logic. And that makes it difficult I can't trust that what I ask of you or what I believe you will do is in question now. So that affects our relationship.
Right.
You can believe the earth is flat, and that is not the judgment. The judgment is the lack of understanding that, here's a real quick example. Somebody told me that there's no way the earth is spinning 60,000 miles per hour, we'd fly off of it. And I said, I used this example in another episode too, because it's just a very straightforward answer. I said, take like a Yugo tire, like a tire from a Yugo. Okay. They're maybe 2 feet in circumference, right? And then take like a monster truck that has like a 5-foot circumference tire. If they are both going 40 miles per hour, the rotation rate of the smaller tire is greater than the rotation rate of the larger tire, but they are indeed going 40 miles per hour. But the one tire would look slower than the other tire. Earth, and this is the part that I understand, is hard to perceive.
Right.
The mere size of Earth is so difficult to comprehend. To be like, it is so big that 60,000 miles an hour is not really going to look 60,000 miles per hour, say, to a car that's spinning in a circle.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And I get that. But at the same time, that doesn't discredit the fact that it is happening because you can't comprehend something.
Right. Yeah. No, that always makes me laugh because they say that. They're like, when you look at the clouds, they're not spinning really fast. It's like, oh boy. Oh boy.
just use a sundial. It's very easy.
Right. Right. Again, it just leads to the fact that if you don't want to like go and explore those aspects yourself, and you just want to accept beliefs based upon the mind of perception, again, be prepared to have that challenged by the external world that you live in. That's just how it works, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I love being challenged, but I'm listening, and if somebody says something that is not accurate, like for example, I was talking to this one person and they were telling me that to change the Supreme Court justice to anything other than 9 is un-American because that's how we started. That phrase right there, that's how it started or how we started, is incorrect because it started with 6. But then if they come back and go, yeah, but over the years it was changed to 9 and it's been that way, that doesn't mean that's how it started, though.
Right. Yeah. No, it evolved.
It evolved. Right. Yeah. But also there are circumstances that allow or are allotted to the movement of the justices to go higher or lower, one being the Civil War and the other just being the practicality of it, that like, well, sometimes we don't have enough voices to present a sensitive nuance to a subject, because that's what more justices would entail, is a more nuanced judgment, right? But the idea that it is un-American, as per the statement, and it is how we started, those are both not accurate statements.
Right.
But if your position is, well, I think it would be packing the courts, and I'm not comfortable with the courts potentially leaning in the favor of something I don't agree with because maybe I am conservative, right? Like whatever that statement, there are no inaccuracies in that statement because that's a belief,
right?
But to say it must be conservative or it must be 9 or it is un-American to move the number, but it is completely American because it is not in the Constitution that it is 9 justices.
Right. There's so many things that are not in the Constitution that are accepted widely now is government practices and procedures that have always been the status quo, So it's kind of funny that, again, if you have your belief system, but you're modifying your language or basic facts or history to suit that need, then it's like, no, there's confirmation bias there, and you're making sweeping generalizations that are not accurate.
Yeah. And I'm always okay if somebody's like, I think red is the worst color in the world. And it's like, that's fine. But if they're like, red is the worst color in the world, there's just that's not objectively true.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, for me, then you're just trolling at that point. And okay, then all gloves are off and I'm trolling your back,
I'm from Long Island. It's on.
We're fighting. Then I'm be trolling your ass back, sending you memes.
That's right. How dare you tell me Chicago has pizza when it's a casserole?
I mean, think about it. It's with everything. You could go on, you log on Instagram or TikTok or anything, and you'll see somebody make a post, and guarantee you go into those comments, and woo, you're gonna have the time of your life in there.
There's this really funny thing going around now. I'm sure you've seen it. The Australian breakdancer.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
And what is fundamentally true is they are, without a doubt, performing at an Olympic level.
Right.
So the idea that they are the worst breakdancer is an inaccurate statement.
Right.
They are performing at an Olympic level.
Right.
But there is a good argument that they are probably the worst Olympic performance.
Right. So even though we're all there poking fun, when's the last time I've been at the Olympics? Well, never.
I know, right? They won't even have me for sitting,
I've been seeing a trend like that going on TikTok. It's hilarious. It's people like, see, I didn't qualify for the 2024 Olympics, and it's people doing sports and just really like, all these things falling off. It's hilarious, but yeah.
Well, she has a good movie. She has this like little hop thing she does.
Well, I thought she was trying to prove a point, and that she actually wasn't really a breakdancer. She just was a historian or.
She's a professor of breakdancing.
Right? Yeah. It's like, okay, boy, you could teach anything nowadays, huh?
She not only is a professor, I believe, and I could be wrong with this, but she has a doctorate in breakdancing, right?
There's a school for
that. You can get a doctorate in anything. I could get it in like the design of cups. It's just the study of, and then you, but also you can get a whatchamacallit, a honorary doctorate in your life experience. So for me, one of my areas of expertise would probably be like the study of success. So if I can prove my expertise, and it's accepted by the community, and people come to me, and I'm like a Anthony Robbins or something like that, right?
Yeah, like a
I could,
motivational speaker or inspiration, you know.
yeah, and but my method is also proven to work, or whatever the case is. I could technically get a honorary doctorate from a college that accepts that, like,
Right, that acknowledges your
yeah.
skill in that profession. I get it. That makes
Let's
sense.
see. Does the Australia break dancer have a doctor? Yeah, they have a PhD in cultural studies.
Okay.
And as a professor at the Macquarie University in Sydney, she was named the top-ranked B girl by the Australian Breakdancing Association in 2020 and 2021, and won the Oceania Breaking Championship. So not only is she at an Olympic level, but she has won awards for breakdancing, is a student of breakdancing. That's so funny.
Anyway. Right. So, I mean, it's clear that that's where her passion lies. That's where, you know, that's her life. But yet, yeah.
There was an argument for maybe, as per what I've been reading, and again, this is only my perception of the knowledge that I have accepted, and there's only limited because it's in real time. The Olympics have decided to not do the breakdancing competition because of how bad that was.
Really? Oh, that's a shame. Because, you know, you think about, I mean, breakdancing really has been around for a while and has come into prominence with like the reality talent shows and things like that. And I know I've seen some excellent troops perform, etc. So I do consider it a craft or, you know, skill, a sport, you know?
Yeah, it's an art. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we come from a time where Breakin' was an awesome movie. So,
yeah.
But he's like breakdancing on the wall and then like the ceiling and
and then, you know, in the 2000s you had all those like Step Up and Bring It On and all
That's
that.
Right. Gambit. I mean, Tatum 10.
He is Gambit. That's all right. That's for another day. But yeah.
That's all right. That's the next topic. All right. So we did about a half hour. Do you have any final words on specifically flat earthers and despite overwhelming scientific evidence, some people still believe the earth is flat? Any final thoughts?
Flat earthers, go outside, go travel, and then come back to us.
I agree. Eva, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anywhere you want people to try to find you, or are you still playing hide and go seek?
I am really enigmatic type. So I pretty much, you Google this name, you'll find all my socials. It's my handle on everything, Instagram, TikTok, etc. I'm in the process of more veering into my creative endeavors. So yeah, feel free to follow me because I'll be having some things coming up too. Yeah.
All right. And for anyone who's listening on the audio version, it's Eva, EVA, and Dramatica.
Dramatica, yes.
Dramatica, and that's DRAMATICA. And also information will be in the description below. But of course, if you want to see our pretty faces and my exciting beard, watch it on YouTube. That's really the best way to find us. With that said, thank you so very much. This is Thomas J. Bellezza from The Hat. We are talking by choice, chosen by random. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
No problem.